Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. I'm Amber Duke, joined by Jessica Burbank. Jessica, good morning.
Good to be with you again for another Rising Friday.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. Columbia University is still dealing with the aftermath of the chaotic pro-Palestinian student protests. The university has just reached a settlement with a Jewish student and agreed to increase the university's safety measures for students. The Columbia student alleged the Ivy League failed to provide a safe educational environment during the recent pro-Palestinian protest. Columbia further agreed to create a new point of contact, a safe passage liaison, for students worried about their safety. In a statement, Columbia said, quote, "We are pleased we've been able to come to a resolution and remain committed to our #1 priority, the safety of our campus, so that all of our students can successfully pursue their education and meet their academic goals."
In other Columbia news, student editors at Columbia's Law Review say that they were pressured by the Law Review's board to stop publication of an article written by a Palestinian human rights lawyer who accused Israel of committing genocide. Now, the student editors refused and went ahead and published the piece anyway on Monday. In part, the human rights lawyer wrote, quote, "The genocide in Gaza has underscored the centrality of Palestine to international legal order. As the world continues to face the consequences and legacies of colonialism, Palestine remains the most vivid manifestation of the colonial ordering that the international community purports to have transcended." Following its publication, the board shut down the Law Review's website entirely. As of Thursday night, the website was still down and says website under maintenance. Responding to the drama, the board of directors said in a statement, quote, "The piece had not been subject to the usual processes of review or selection for article. Whatever your view of this piece, it will clearly be controversial and potentially have an impact on all associated with the review."
Meanwhile, some alumni are turning their backs on the school. One Columbia alumni made headlines this week for anonymously donating $260 million to one of Israel's largest universities, according to the New York Post. So, Jessica, what kind of impact do you think these pro-Palestinian protests are going to have long term? We have seen some prominent alumni saying that they're no longer going to support the universities. At the same time, other student protesters have been able to secure some movement from campus administrators on the issues related to the Gaza war. So it seems like maybe a little bit of a double-edged sword here.
Right. Under the name of Columbia University, you have people who are very pro-Palestine, very critical of Israel right now, that are not happy with decisions, for example, by the Law Review Board that we just talked about. A decision to not publish this piece and take the website down afterwards. I mean, anyone who cares about free speech should be upset about this. How much control should the board have over this student publication? Who is on the board? How is the board appointed? I think if I'm a student at Columbia, especially in the law school, these are all questions I'm going to have right now, especially as someone who's pro-Palestine. But then you also have people who are, very pro-Israel, very critical of the Palestinian protests that are like, why is the university allowing students to demonstrate on campus? And so in every direction, you have people that are not happy with decisions made by real human decision actors at Columbia University that are operating under the guise of, we're just the whole institution. Just Columbia University does X, Columbia University does Y. When in reality, I think we should talk about it in terms of who is on the Law Review Board, who made that decision. Because I think, hiding behind we're just making decisions on behalf of Columbia University isn't enough for a lot of people right now. I think it's good to make sure students feel safe on campus, but we've had a lot of cases across the country on campus where you have a lot of Zionist agitators showing up to these protests. These are people who don't want the encampments to be at UCLA, to be at Columbia, and they try and take them down and end up getting physical with some of the protesters. How do you ensure the students that want to go to class can go to class safely, and the students that want to protest can do so safely as well? It's a really difficult task that the universities find themselves with. But universities are really about places to have conversations, academic ones, intellectual ones. So to silence someone who is a Palestinian human rights lawyer, it just feels like a bad decision at this point in time when it sounds like the student leadership at the paper wanted this to be published.
The actions definitely backfired big time because more people now are aware of this article and are reading it. There's obviously a PDF version of it that the law review editors have put up since the website got taken down. And you would think that the proper reaction to the student editors publishing something that you don't agree with would be for administrators to commission an additional piece responding to some of the claims in that article as opposed to censoring it. That would be the proper academic reaction to that. Now, on the question of the protesters, I understand what you're saying about the Zionists supposedly coming in and agitating. I know that there were instances of violence that took place from the pro-Palestinian protesters as well. All around, I think the campuses definitely have the right to take down the encampments that are in clear violation of campus policy. The encampments themselves are not speech, they're actions, in which case they're not protected by the normal speech codes that a campus operates under. I think you're welcome to hold up signs, you're welcome to have bullhorns, whatever it is, so long as you're in keeping with the time and place manner restrictions that typically apply. But setting up an encampment in the middle of the quad such that you're prohibiting other students from being able to use a public space that they also pay tuition dollars for, as well as having quasi-checkpoints where they were not allowing Jewish or Zionist students into that area was completely inappropriate. I think the universities were well within their rights to say that that specific behavior was not allowed.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just on the side of I support direct action around this issue. I think it's something that came in response to the university not being open to the conversations happening on campus. I have friends in the graduate school, specifically, the social work school, where a lot of pro-Palestine students had professors personally retaliate against them. They compiled their communications. I was a part of helping making sure those reached the public because they didn't get recourse from the university when they tried to go down traditional avenues. And so it reminds me of the classic Frederick Douglass quote of power concedes nothing without a demand, never has, never will. And so unless people are made a little bit uncomfortable and making the political point of uncomfortability around, we're going to set up shop and we're going to camp out on campus and establish an encampment in a similar way to how Israel establishes encampments in Palestine as they've grabbed land over the years, to see the reaction to that and to grapple with the uncomfortability around encampments. I think it was an important choice for direct action there to make their point. And so I really support the student protesters. Sometimes laws do have to be broken. Law and justice are not the same for people to make a political point. That's true of the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King Jr., who's kind of been remembered as someone who's very peaceful and who never did anything, violent or never broke the law, never destroyed property. But that's really not what we've seen in the history of the United States. It's always been strong direct actions and good organizing that's brought change. So it might be against university rules, but I still support it. And I think it's a smart decision by the university to let them keep their encampment, let them continue protesting without, every single night calling the police in.
Well, we are definitely going to continue to follow the action taking place on campuses, but we're out of time. We're going to be back with more Rising after this.